Hey, BookTube. We're still sick. Not feeling great. I don't know. So I'm having a C's chocolate pop in my coffee. But I saw the trailer for I'll just leave it in there. Oh shit, it's falling. There we go. I saw the trailer for Annihilation with Natalie Portman. And let me see here. I was like, oh my gosh, because I really wanted to read the books, and I heard a lot of good stuff about them. So I'm like, oh, okay, maybe now is the time that I read it. So that's Annihilation, if you could see it. Annihilation. And then the next one is called Authority. And this one is kind of, it's got a little bunny with a cell phone. That's funny. Authority. And then we have the final book, Acceptance, that has an owl with a mouse in its little feet thing. There's also a fourth book called Annoying that will be coming out sometime soon. I'm just kidding. That's not true. Waka Waka. So this is by Jeff Vandermeer. And I ended up reading the three of them. And so this is going to be my spoiler-free review of them. And then I will go into my spoiler review of them. Okay. So the first book is about these four women who are known as the biologist, the anthropologist, the surveyor, and the psychologist. And they are going into this place called Area X to do some studies or whatever. And it's this place that has this barrier, and every team that's gone in there, they either die, commit suicide, or come back with diseases or something like that. So it's this very unknown place, and they go there and have an adventure. So that's that. That book I really liked after I read it, but in thinking more about it since, I don't know if I really liked it that much. The second book is called Authority, and this is about the actual Southern Reach facility, as opposed to Area X. Now, Southern Reach is the government organization that basically is set up to watch Area X. And this story is more of a I don't want to say like a corporate espionage story, but I don't know how else to describe it. It's you don't know who to trust. Everyone's working for somebody else, and the whole time the main character, who's called Control, he is talking to a survivor from the last expedition that went into Area X. And this book was slow and boring and nothing was happening, but the book ended really, really strong. Really, really strong. So that was a plus for me. Other things in this book were decisions that were made by characters seemed so not what they would do. Like, it just, every, like, you don't know why people aren't talking about certain things. You don't know why people are purposefully hiding certain things from others. Whereas there's other things that if they shared could shed a lot of light on something, but then they don't share those things for stupid reasons. So that made the whole thing kind of weird. I can't really talk about the third book without going into the spoiler review. So, but I like the third book the least out of the three. So, I think it was worth the read. There were parts of it that were very Lovecraftian, I think. But like right now I just have this feeling like very apathetic about the whole thing. So I don't know how I feel. So if you want to read the books, go read them. If you don't care about spoilers and stuff, let's do this. Okay, now, first off, the psychologist was kind of like the villain of the first book, okay? She dies in the book, whatever. And then the biologist, who was like the hero, she also maybe dies at the end of the first book, but also goes off to look for her husband's essence, who died of cancer when he came back from the last thing. I'm sorry, we're like totally gross here, okay? So there's that. When the second book starts, it starts with someone who you don't know who the fuck they are being like interviewed and stuff. And it's all about this guy who is called Control, who is the new director of Southern Reach because the psychologist never came back. And she was the director of Southern Reach. So there's some chick, what's her name? Jesus Christ, I've been like living these 3 books. I can't remember. It's the assistant director, whoever she is. She doesn't like him and is like pulling shit to get him in trouble. Well, it just so happens that this guy's mom was also an agent, and she was like super high up. So she is like constantly like getting him out of trouble and got him this position at Southern Reach and all this crap. But he's been interrogating the biologist, who is now back at the Southern Reach facility, trying to figure out what the fuck happened. And she's not being very cooperative. It's just, it goes on for fucking ever before anything happens that's really worth mentioning. And there's this bit where he goes up into like this attic inside the storeroom of the Southern Reach facility, and shit gets weird, and it's really good. Um, long story short, too late. Um, the barrier between the Southern Reach facility and Area X is starting to get closer. And he sees the psychologist walking up and the assistant director all excited, and he's like, oh my god. And he goes to touch the wall, or he goes back, he wants to go back up to the attic, and there's a wall there, but the wall's like breathing. And he's like, okay, I'm out. And so he splits, and his mom's like, hey, do this, don't do that. So for some reason, he decides he's going to find the biologist who has escaped and told him that she is not the biologist. So he like does all this shit and like pretends he's a fisherman to try to find her, which again, needle in the haystack, but it works out. And then for some reason, because they're being followed or whatnot, the biologist who, for whatever reason, is going by the name Ghostbird now, decides to jump into this hole at the tide pools that is kind of glowing, because she knows that that will let them into Area X, which is not where they want to go, because it's not where he wants to go, because he's pretty sure Area X is moving and going to take over the whole Earth or whatever. And that's how the book ends, with them jumping through there. That was strong. I was like, fuck. Okay. Third book. Okay. What do you do when you have a really good book, or a decently good book, and then decide to start completely fucking with the formula? What happens? It's usually not as good. Okay, well, that's kind of what happened here. So now, instead of just having a book told from someone's perspective or whatnot, this book is told from 3 different people's perspectives in 3 different periods of time. Okay? So we have the lighthouse keeper from before Area X existed, which you hear him mentioned a few times in the other books, but having like a third of the book be about like his last days before Area X showed up, I thought was kind of ridiculous. The second, no, we're going to come back to that. The third story is about Control and Ghostbird inside Area X. This stuff is really, really good. And the romantic part of me was like really pushing for some shipping. So that kind of kept me going. Yeah. Zoe doesn't think I'm very romantic. But the second story, okay? The second story is told from the point of view of the psychologist, or the original director of Southern Reach, okay, who died in the first book. And it takes place pretty much from when she found out about Area X to the beginning of the first book, okay? Now, that wouldn't be that bad, except it's like written in second person. Like, it's ridiculous. It doesn't make any sense. And then after all that goes down, and you're like, it's so jarring. But after all that goes down, you realize that what this is it's like a fucking war zone in my house right now. You realize that it's a fucking letter to the lighthouse keeper, but she's still writing it in like second person. What the fuck is going on there? Um, it wasn't witty. It wasn't like, ooh, this is so edgy and cool. It was fucking annoying. And what made it worse was that it was a character that was not likable at all in the first book, and not many things changed by the third book to make you want to like this character. And just the way it's written is like, it doesn't help. It makes the characters seem just as bitchy as ever. So, did enough stuff happen in the third book to make sense of the trilogy? Yeah, I guess. But it seems like it could have been just one amazing book that got padded out into a trilogy to me. Because I think the Area X collection, which is all three books, I think it's only like 500 pages. So, like, you could probably have cut out like 150 to 200 pages, maybe. Um, because a lot of it's very repetitive, where like a character will say, like, I just don't know who to trust. And then we'll go through like a really long story about why they can't trust anybody. And then a few chapters later, we'll bring that up again and then try to like refresh it in your mind a little bit. Um, the concept was really cool. I'm glad I read it. Um, man, I don't know. See, the funny thing is, like, if I could like a part of it, I think the second half of the second book is my favorite bit of the whole thing. But the first half of that second book is so shit that I don't know what to think about it. I don't know. What did you think about it? Did you like the books? Did you not? If I missed something, like if while I'm sitting here bitching about this, if you're like, oh, you definitely missed this bit, please explain it to me, because I had, especially during the third book, I had to keep going back because something like wouldn't make any sense to me, and I would go back and realize, nope, I got it right. It just doesn't make any sense to me. So leave me something below. Um, we'll get well soon, and I'll talk to you later.